Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today is episode 1 of 32 season previews of the NHL, where we take a look at every single one of the teams and decide how they will fare, looking at their lineup, their roster, and looking at what players are ready to bounce back, who's ready to just fall off a cliff, who's going to make a breakout year, who's going to be the rookie of the year, who will be the defenseman who's on the climb or on the decline. Let's talk about it, and where is a better place to start than the alphabetically first team of the NHL, and that is, everyone knows it, the Anaheim Ducks. So let's talk about it. So this is a team that finished worst of the NHL last year, 32nd of the league, with the best odds to win the draft lottery. Unfortunately, they don't, but they do get second overall after their 58-point season, 23, 47, and 12. That's horrible. That is a absolutely horrendous record, but they get the second overall pick from it, and they get Leo Carlsson, who I'll talk a little bit more about later. And when it comes to free agency, a little bit after that, the only move that they've really made was picking up Alex Killorn. Other than that, no one really to talk about. I mean, Radko Gudas as well, I guess he flew over my mind. So really no huge additions to the team, but we'll talk more about those guys later too. And really, this team right now is in the mode, they're not trying to put together a superstar team yet, right? They're still in rebuild mode 100%, and they don't want to bring on some players right now, because the team is still bad, and they're waiting for those young guys, the Zellwegers, the Mintyakovs of the world, the guys like Leo Carlsson to be NHL-ready players. I mean, Zellweger and Mintyakov, two of the best young players of defensive players in the world. Guys like Jamie Drysdale still trying to become an NHL-ready player, right? So all these things, all these factors of the future are great, but for the now, they're not there, and it's still going to be a hard season to watch for them. So starting off with the top line, Adam Henrique, I would personally put Alex Killorn there, but I get the idea that you want to spread out the talent through the lineup, and all the websites that I've been going through all seem to say that they want Henrique on the top line, Killorn on the second, so I guess I'll cave in to what they think. I get the idea there. But Adam Henrique, Trevor Zegras, and Troy Terry. Terry and Zegras just on a tear just of the Anaheim Ducks. These two young guys are just so good at what they do, and they're just getting better, and especially as the team gets better as a whole, these two will be the center point of the team. Maybe some people overshadow them, but especially Trevor Zegras. 65 points from the young, skilled player last season. Every year he just gets more points from, I think actually the year before last, he got 61 to 65 here, so he's still technically going up, but not huge. His biggest issue, though, and really with the whole Ducks as a whole, it's not his fault, but defense is an absolute horrendous show for this team. They are last in the league last year of being scored on. Number one most scored on team. So all these players are going to be in the minus, right? But Trevor Zegras still being that young player and being more of an offensive guy than a defensive guy 100%. His defense is horrible, right? That is one category that he will have to work on. Or, I mean, he won't be the one that they put all of that. They're not expecting to be a Patrice Bergeron, right? They're not expecting to be that. They want him to be a Patrick Kane. And a Patrick Kane he is. 23 goals, 65 points last year. Just great. However, one thing you will need to learn is to be more disciplined. He led this team in penalties and minutes last year. 88 penalty minutes. Not good. Not good for Trevor Zegras, so he's going to have to work on that. Troy Terry as well. 23 goals, 61 points, which is good. Absolutely good. One issue, though, is last season, he had 37 goals. So he dropped off big time when it comes to goal scoring. So that I'm not the biggest fan of. And he also had 67 points as well as the year before. So he definitely went down this year. But I think that is actually a really good sign. Because as we all know, players, they have their really good year and then they regress a little bit, right? That's just how it works. You have your ups and downs. You can't just always be up and up and up. Like, that's just impossible. No one ever is just up, up. You have to come back down to earth a little bit. And Troy Terry, after having such an amazing breakout year 2 years ago, this year the Ducks are absolutely horrendous. He had no help. I mean, with Zegras, I guess he did, but you get what I mean. The team was absolutely horrendous. So I'm thinking that is a big sign of big things to come from him. 23 goals from 37. I think that's going to go right back up. I think he could definitely get back to the 30-goal range, and assists is only going to go up when he's working with guys like Zegras, maybe being paired up sometimes with Alex Killorn on like the power play unit. I think he probably gets to maybe 70 points this year. Trevor Zegras, same thing. Those go up. Adam Henrique, I don't really like at all in this team. 38 points last year, 22 goals. He doesn't get a lot of assists at all. Goal scoring, 22 goals. I mean, that's on par with Zegras and Troy Terry, but for him, the lack of assists, I don't know. Henrique is not someone I see as a real commodity on this team, more of just a fill-in spot. And last season as well, he's only going down. He got 42 points, which is only 4 more points than last year, but he played less games as well. So Henrique only going down the toilet as well. So don't really like that for that top line. I personally would like Killorn up there to help and give a little bit more skill and talent to that top line to get Zegras and Troy Terry some more points up on the board. But Killorn on the second line I think is fine, especially with Mason McTavish on the second line. I'm going to put him on there. I think McTavish definitely deserves to be on the second. And with Killorn kind of being that big-bodied guy, McTavish kind of being like that, not grindy and gritty like a... like he is like he gets to the dirty areas, but he's so skilled as well. McTavish is just a star, absolute star. 43 points last year. His numbers are only going to go up for me. I don't think he goes down from last year. I think he goes up to maybe 50 points. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's like 60, but if he can get to like 50 points this year and playing with Alex Killorn, I think would be huge for those two guys to work together, as well as either, I would say Frank Vetrano. Some people could say like Strome to have that right-handed guy in there, but I think Vetrano is fine to be up there. He's also 22 goals, 41 points last year. Vetrano, McTavish, Killorn, like that could be a good line by itself. Not outstanding, but good line to get McTavish to go up, maybe get Killorn to still be getting in those good minutes, but for him, Killorn, 64 points with the Lightning, I think that goes down. That was his best year of his career, I believe, and that number, especially going from Tampa Bay to Anaheim, no way he's able to replicate that. So from 64 points, I would say maybe he gets down to 40 just because of how bad this team really is. But who knows? Maybe he is electric with McTavish. Those two guys can combine for a lot of goals. 27 from Killorn last year. McTavish got 17. I think that number definitely goes up. So maybe both of them get to like 25 or something. Not bad at all there. McTavish just going up. Killorn, nice contract for him. Really their biggest ad. Kind of a strange ad, I will say. I don't think Killorn's going to change this team. I think it's weird. I think they do need to give some more talent to this team to let some of the young guys like Zegras, Terry, McTavish to get some better players to play with and get those numbers to go up. But at the same time, Killorn, I just don't think is the guy, especially for how much money they threw his way. I get that they don't really need to worry about money right now, but still, I think it's a weird choice. I think they could have went with another different players, but Killorn was, so what do I know? So Alex Killorn, second line, kind of fine. Third line is where things really, truly fall apart for this team. Ryan Strome, 41 points last year, I think is fine, but I think he does get demoted to the third line just to share. I think he's the one that gets pushed out from those top two lines unless it is Adam Henrique and you put Strome on the top line, which personally I would do, but I guess most people think this is what they'll do, and teams usually play this way and spread the talents anyways. So I see this most likely that being what they do. He was a minus 30 last year, so when it comes to defense, he was the worst on the team when it comes to plus and minus, which I know is a dumb stat anyways, but whatever. Minus 30 last year, 41 points. I do think he's the one that squeezed out, which I think 41 points definitely goes down the toilet this year, as well as being paired up with guys like Max Jones, who's 19 points. He's been a power forward type player that has never really been able to find his ground in the NHL. I've seen him in person a lot of times in the AHL, and he's fine there. But when it comes to the NHL, Jones just doesn't find his footing there. 19 points last year, 9 goals. This is the last year of his contract. I just don't see I just don't see that number going up anymore. I think he will be fighting hard to get a roster spot for next year, or at least show off his skills to maybe get a contract somewhere else and get paid good money, but unless that, I just don't see it happening. He's never been able to do it so far, and at the age of 25 now, I just don't think it's going to happen. So for Jones, those numbers, 19, it stays the same, and it's just not that good. And Strome, unfortunately, those numbers will go down for him as well, just because he's being paired up with Silfverberg. I like Silfverberg a lot, but his numbers never are just not getting any better either. 10 goals, 26 points last year. A guy that I think most people thought would have been the next captain of this team, but since he just keeps going down and down and down, and this is also the last year of his contract, I'm sure both these guys will be playing their heart out to try to get a good contract for next year, but I'm worried. I think a guy like Silfverberg, from being paid $5 million, could go down to like 1.2 if he can't get anything better than 26 points, which is just horrible. So for them, if they can light it up, if they go, you know what, these two line mates are like, hey, Silfverberg, yes, Jones, listen, this is our last year of our career. Okay, let's play our heart out. I like it. And they go out there and do that, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, the team's just as bad as they were last year, and I don't see that happening. So those two guys, just those numbers, I don't see getting better, and I definitely see them more likely getting worse than better. Then the fourth line is where things get interesting, because Lundestrom was a staple sort of the team last year, but he's injured. He'll be out for at least the beginning of the year. And for Lundestrom's spot, who do you put in? Because there's another spot as well, the right wing side or any other wing side on there, I see being completely vacant. I think Brock McGinn can slide his way into the fourth line, but I could also see him being a scratch. But the Ducks, they have a lot of AHL guys that I like. I've seen them a handful of times, and I like what I've seen from some of the guys. Some of the guys like Gruel, Regenda out there as well. You could throw in a guy like Carrick, maybe even a guy like Leeson, right? There's a lot of, like, DeLeo's good as well. Maybe this is where they could throw in a guy like Leo Carlson if he's NHL ready. There's no way of knowing until training camp happens, so I can't really predict those spots right now because there's so many like spots open there, right? They have a lot of young guys that they could throw on the ice from the AHL and just say, hey, here's your chance, go out there, be the next Connor Garland or Michael Bunting, go out there and just surprise us, right? I could see that happening. I just don't know who I would pick. For my picks, from what I've seen in person, I really like Gruel. I think that's how you say his name. I really have liked his play. I think he's kind of fast and kind of skilled. Guys like DeLeo as well. I remember seeing out there, he was impressing me with. Doesn't have the size, but he's got the speed. I think if they could throw one of those guys out there, just throw those guys a bone, go grab the brass ring, I would really like to see them do that because these are guys that need a chance to play on this team. And when's a better time than now when you guys like Lundestrom are injured and you have an open spot? Throw in some guys, maybe a couple guys. Keep throwing them in there and just say, hey, here's your chance of a lifetime to prove to the NHL that you're ready for a team. And I think they deserve to do it. I don't know there's a whole list of people they could choose from. So from the AHL, I can't really predict who because there's just so many and who would actually transfer there and pay off. But for Matt, there's a whole list of people that I've gone through now. So offensively, the team sucks. The team sucks. I mean, first line, if Zegras and Terry can keep going up and up, 70 points is fine for both of those guys. Is fine, but then Henrique is kind of a black hole there. Killorn, McTavish, Vetrano, I think is a solid line that I think can just make their numbers go up. Vetrano, I think, could have a better year and go up a little bit. I think McTavish being more electric and being more NHL ready is just going to go up. Killorn, his numbers will go down, but maybe not his goal scoring. I think his assist will go down from last year, so I think he could stay at 27 goals, but maybe assist goes down to like, I don't know, like maybe 20 or something, and that from 64 he goes down to more like 50 points or something like that. So second line's fine, but then everything from there is just a black hole, just an absolute heap of just throwaway players that don't need to be there, and I would like to see them give some AHL, because they got a lot of young guys, 22, 20, 21, 23-year-olds, that they could give a bone to, just say, hey, go catch it, go show us what you got. So I want to see them do that. Defense. Fowler and Drysdale is what we would have liked to seen last year, but Drysdale got injured first 8 games into the season. He only played 8 games of the season, recorded no points. So this guy, I'd like to see him get a chance. And he will get his chance to go out there and prove if he's NHL ready, prove where he fits in the lineup. And I don't know what to predict, because after missing the entire year of hockey last year and being jumped into the hardest league in the world, what do you expect from that? I don't know. I do not know how a guy pays off from that. I could see him being a huge defensive, not giant like a Moritz Seider, but maybe getting to like the 20 points, maybe like 23 points this year or something. Nothing outstanding, but something good for a starting year. Or I could also see him being like a Moritz Seider of like just being like, whoa, like this guy can fly down the ice, he can shoot this puck in when there's traffic in front, and it gets to something like 40-something points, you know? I doubt it, but I could see it going either way. Or it being just absolutely nothing. I think he could range anywhere. He's so unpredictable, being just his circumstance, missing an entire year from injury in the hardest league. Who knows where he ends up? Fowler, let's see if he can follow up last year. Last year was good for him, 48 points, 10 goals. I liked it. He was 15th in the NHL when it comes to time on ice. And for only being, I think, like a minus 20, somewhere in the 20s, I know that's not good, but for playing the like 15th in the NHL for time on ice and being not horrible for the Anaheim Ducks, I like it. I think that's huge for him. So Cam Fowler, I've always liked him. I think he's underrated. I think he's the type of defender that if he was on another team, let's say he ended up on Tampa Bay somehow, I think we'd be going like, whoa, Cam Fowler. I think he's underrated. Not saying he's like outstanding, but I do think he is better than we think he is. Cam Fowler, like the guy. Second line, I think this is once again where the Ducks, they need to throw in some of these young guys, these young prospects. Not really prospects, but AHL guys like Jackson Lacombe. Throw him in there, right? Or another one of the young rookies that they got down there. I mean, the Ducks have a lot of young defensemen. A lot of young defensemen. Zellweger and Mintyukov, are they ready for the NHL? I don't think so. But who knows? Maybe they are. Maybe they are the ones that are thrown in here. But for me, I would pick Lacombe over them. He has a little bit of NHL experience. Radko Gudas being added in the lineup to bring some grit and just fight and just a mean guy onto the team. I like the move for him and Gudas. Not bringing any offense to the table, but the grittiness and the hits that he will bring to the team, he's going to bring a little bit more tenacity, and I like that. Same thing for Alex Killorn. 2 guys that will throw their body around. I like what they're doing. They added a little bit of attitude to the team, and I do think that's a really good decision for the Ducks. And then the final line of defense, Colton White. What is there to say? 6 assists last year. He's just a guy he's just filling in a roster spot, really. He's not going to jump out. He's not going to get 50 points out of nowhere. He's a nobody. He's going to be just a fill-in for right now. And then another rookie, guy like Hellison to put down there. 3 games he played last year. He scored a goal. He's another young defenseman that you never know. Maybe he goes out there and he puts on a show for us, or he shows that he's amazingly defensive. There's only time will tell, right? 22 years old, give the guy a chance. One of those guys will jump out and they'll grab that roster spot. I guess it's only time will tell when we get to the regular season. But for now, I think Hellison and Lacombe are the ones that I would put in there for if I was the coach at this point. And then goaltending is where things do get question marks, because Gibson, is he even there to start the year? I do think he will be. I think they're going to trade him out into the year, especially just how bad his numbers were last year, which was his career worst. 14-31 was his record. That's horrendous. .899 save percentage is horrible. 3.99 goals against average, being scored on 4 goals a game, which isn't really his fault. I mean, the team was the worst defensively in the NHL last year. They got scored on the most. I mean, what is Gibson going to do, you know? I mean, I watched his games. I lucked out watching a lot of Ducks games last year, and he's always on top of it. He is always just putting on a show. But the issue is that there's so many times that you can say, like, rebound, back shot, save, over, glove, there's only so many things a guy can do that his team can't help him with. And especially after that top line with Fowler, then what happens, you know? Like, after Fowler, I mean, if you remove Gudas, he wasn't there last year, but, like, Colton and, like, Carrick back there, like, no one's helping him. No one is helping him defensively, and it just sucks. So if he's moved out, I do like Lucas Dostal, right? I really like their backup. I think Dostal is the pick for the future, and I do think Gibson, I think it is now the time to strike to move him out, because Dostal is the future position. Well, the future guy to hold that spot for the Ducks. So I think now is a good time to move out Gibson, give Dostal the spotlight, let him be the centerpiece, and let Gibson go play somewhere else where he could actually win. Dostal, he's still growing. I think he's also 23 years old. Goaltenders bloom in their late 20s, so give him the time now to be bad and learn. And when he is 26, 27 in a couple years, that's when this team will be good, when Leo Carlsson is a bona fide top 6 centerman, when Zellweger and Mintyukov are up there. So, for the Anaheim Ducks, what do I think about this team? This is a team that will be at the bottom of the league this year. This is a team that is not expecting to win, and neither should their fans. This is a team that you will have a lot of bright spots. I think Zegras and Troy Terry, their numbers will only go up. McTavish, I think he goes up from 43 to maybe in the 50s. Who knows? Maybe he has an electric year, gets to 60. Well, then the next year he'll digress a little bit, you know? I think there's a lot of good bright spots on this team. Drysdale making it on the team. Fowler, if he can continue his reign. Gibson, if they can move him out and see what happens with Dostal and who they can get back in return for John Gibson. I think there's a lot of good bright spots for the team now, and then what will be coming in the future in the guys that I keep naming on the list of Zellweger, Mintyukov, Leo Carlsson, those guys offensively. They got a lot of good picks. They got a lot of bright spots. And for them, where do I see them this year? I don't see them being 32nd. I see them definitely being bottom, though, because the team is not that much better. So I'd say maybe like 27th. Not even, no, not 27th. This is like a 28 or 9. This is not, maybe even 30. Like, the team is not that much better. The depth is horrible. Depth is horrible. Bottom 2 lines, absolutely abysmal. Strome was, like, they showed last year that defense is not this team's strong suit. So it's not like they got any better defensively, really. Adding Gudas, it's not like he was the best defenseman in the world for Florida. So, for me, the team defensively, being scored on was not fixed at all. But I don't think that's their concern. I think they're more worried about the bright guys just staying on the team and building up for the future. And that's really all they need to do, because now is not the time to strike. Even if they went out there and they got, let's just hype, like, Tarasenko and Kane, and let's say they're the ones that got Anthony Duclair from Florida instead of, like, San Jose. If they got, like, those guys instead, and maybe even they signed, like, Matt Dumba and John Klingberg back to the Ducks, I don't think this team is still going to be good. This is still a not playoff-ready team. They're far from it, but they will be in the near future. I think in 2 years, this will be a playoff-ready team, but for the right now, they're just not. And they don't need to be. They need to wait for guys like Carlsson and stuff. So that's all I got to say. For me, I like the team. They got a lot of bright spots, a lot of things to look forward to. But at the end of the year, they will still be in the draft lottery, and that's exactly where they need to be. Get another good player. Maybe they win it this year. Maybe after being screwed last year, they win it this year, and they get who's the guy who's the number 1 pick this year? He's another, like, Italian-sounding, like, Fantilli from, like, Vancouver area, right? I don't know. It doesn't matter. So, that's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching this. If you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.